Welcome to Worlds of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. Each week, someone will be holding court with Justin Gimelstob. This week, it's Andre Agassi. Andre talks to Justin about his family, his life after retirement, and what tennis taught him.
Andre, it's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you. You're one of the greatest, most iconic tennis players of all time. What role does tennis have in your life now?
It's been quite the challenge since retirement, figuring out ways to kind of stay connected with the game. It's been important to me to do so. The realistic nature of me sort of getting on TV and being out there in the thick of things and commentating and being able to share and talk tennis, which I love, isn't practical at this stage of my life with the kids and everything. And every now and then I get out there and show people how old I am now and play a little bit, but you know, I watch it constantly and enjoy probably watching it more now than ever.
You ever get out there with Steph?
We do every now and then. We have kind of a nice agreement when we go out there. She wants to go get exercise, and I like the feeling of hitting a clean ball, so if I can make her run and she hits it back to me, we enjoy it.
What's Steph like as a mother?
Like she is at everything. She's unbelievable. She is fully hands-on, doesn't want to miss a moment. Totally in the present. Never so rattled that she doesn't enjoy the good that's going on, or the task that needs to be handled, or the responsibility that falls on the shoulders of family decisions. I mean, she's a leader. I follow her lead.
Did you enjoy watching the sport and seeing how it's evolved?
Oh, very much so. Are you kidding? I mean, I knew it so intimately that to see what they're doing now, the appreciation I have for how they've changed even the rules of engagement out there is remarkable to me.
Who are you most impressed by?
Well, I think the game was drastically changed, certainly by Fed after my time, or towards the end of my time, that is, and then he changed the game, and then Nadal came around and answered that, obviously, and then you look at what Djokovic has done to even step up to that equation. I mean, you got 5 guys in history before Nadal and Federer to win all 5, and over X amount of decades, and now you got 3 guys that might do it in the same generation. It's remarkable. So just watching how they adapt to each other's raising the stakes has been a lot of fun.
Is there one current player that you identify with the most now?
Yeah, I'd be flattering myself to say it, I swear to you, but the truth is, the way Djokovic goes about what he does is the way I would have had to, but I wouldn't have had the ability. I mean, his defensive skills are unparalleled, but if you sort of look at the spins that these guys are playing with, the amount of real estate they have to cover, and his ability to neutralize that by stepping into the court, redirecting the ball, or certainly controlling the direction at will. I mean, that's how I lived. The difference is that once I got ahead in the point, I never had to worry about somebody turning that around, and these days, you never know when you're ahead in the point, so you need that defensive movement, which he has, which is why I'd be flattering myself.
It's pretty well documented in your book, your relationship with your father. What was it like growing up in the Agassi household?
Very intense. You know, I think if you're a loose reader, you would read my dad maybe being a bit on the too aggressive side. If you're a more astute reader, you would realize that he is a tortured soul who is very intense about everything he does. And when I look at myself in the mirror these days, I sort of go, wow, I find myself tortured in a lot of things, but I find myself passionate and committed and fully in. So, you know, growing up, it was everything, tennis in my household. You know, winning defined the mood of the house, and my success defined our family's choices. I mean, my dad saw tennis as the fastest road to the American dream, which is success and money, and I was the last of the 4, so it was on me to do it, and I felt that pressure since I was 7. Resented the heck out of it, got sent away from home at 13, resented the heck out of it, started to rebel. Only way to get out was to succeed. Now I'm on the world stage, and here I am on the world stage conducting this teenage rebellion. Now I'm being told who I am when I don't even know who I was. So there was a lot of reasons for me to be disconnected with my life until much later on.
What's the thing that you've learned the most from being a father and from your children?
You never stop learning. You know, I mean, you really never stop learning. The more you learn, the better you can lead. And what I've realized, sort of watching my children grow, is they're going to learn more of what they see than what you say. It's not what you tell them; it's what they see that ends up really morphing into who they are. So you can tell them all day long to be a happy kid, but if your house isn't happy, they're not going to be.
So everything you've been through with tennis and now with your kids, right, on the cusp of teenage years, Would you want them to have to go through what you went through to achieve what you did?
No, I wouldn't want them to go through what I went through to achieve what I did, because I wouldn't want to, first of all, define what achievement is for them. You know, I would hope that their level of definition for what success really means is one particular thing. And then what do you need to be sort of nurtured, nature, nurture? Of course you need to be born with something, and of course it needs to be nurtured, but clarity in life is so important. And I think if my children sort of get clear on where they want to go and what they want to do, and they have that sensibility of, I got to see through what it is I commit to, I think there'll be successful people. And so I guess the answer is no, because success was defined for me, my life was chosen for me. And as a result, I was pushed through it. And none of that made sense to me until I figured a few things out late. So I would actually hate for them to have to do that. I'd rather them know they're nurtured, know they're protected, know they have a platform, and know that they're clear on what they want to do.
More Holding Court with Justin and Andre a little later on. But next, John Wertheim and the editors from Tennis.com talk the future of the Nadal-Djokovic rivalry. We'll be right back. Worlds of Tennis is brought to you by BNP Paribas, the bank for a changing world, and by World Tennis Day. Join the worldwide celebration March 3rd. For information, go to worldtennisday.com. Welcome back to Worlds of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. John Wertheim and the editors from Tennis.com, Peter Bodo, Tom Perrotta, and Andrew Friedman discuss Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic's rivalry.
Well, one thing we can all agree on in tennis is that the sport benefits from rivalries. And on the men's side, we have a great one in Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic. They played almost 40 times. It's almost double McEnroe and Borg, if you can believe it. Where do you see this rivalry going?
Boy, this has got to be continued attached to it. It seems like at the end of every year. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary. On paper, really, it's heading toward Chris Martina territory. You know, these guys are going to be sharing a bagel in a locker room before the U.S. Open final when you're both like 35 years old. You know, it's a wonderful rivalry. I think the matchup between the two of them is great. It'd be nice to have maybe a little bit more contrast in there. I think what's really going to kick in here from here on forward is, in an ongoing way, stamina, strength, and longevity are going to become issues. You know, whichever guy is going to be stronger in the long term, primarily physically, but also a little bit mentally, ultimately too, is going to be the guy who comes out on top.
I love how much momentum really gets into this rivalry. It's been very streaky, where one player wins a bunch in a row, then Djokovic can't lose anymore, and then now Nadal owns him again. And it seems like they make these little adjustments. They win one big match, and then they're sort of off and rolling again.
I mean, to me, it's almost impossible to predict what's going to happen this year. You know, they're so tight. There have been these swings. It's almost like this hot potato. You know, of who's up. You know, and they can't hold on to it. You know, even though it's a good thing, and they give it to the other guy, and then that runs for a while. So I don't know. It does to me. If I had to pick, I feel like Rafa's going to have the better year in the rivalry. It feels to me like that's where things are at the moment, and it also seems to me, as you watch them over the long haul, that Rafa's built a little more for the long haul. You know, he spent all those years at number 2 with Roger, you know, never got discouraged by being, you know, right there but not quite number 1. He's gone up and down a little bit. He just seems to ride out whatever it is. You know, he's out for 7 months with the knee. So it feels like if he stays healthy, I just feel like he's much more steady in the long term, and Djokovic is a little more up and down.
Now we seem to be at this interesting place where at some level it's about X's and O's and whether Djokovic can shorten the court and take away the down the line backhand, but really I think this is so mental right now.
I think the interesting thing from Nadal's perspective is, I would say you're not reaching by saying this is the first tennis player in his entire life since he was a kid who's been in his head and been a consistent problem for him. Because even Federer wasn't a consistent problem for him. He's always had the advantage. He's always been beaten everybody he's played more often than they've beaten him. And he's got that on this guy, but it's really tight. And I think it's a weird thing for him. He's never quite had that.
There was a moment in the small group interview after the U.S. Open when Nadal ended up, you know, talking to a bunch of us, and I think, Tommy, you were in a room there, and at the very end of it, he literally like shook his head and something like, you know, sometimes I don't even know how I beat this guy. And he really meant it sincerely. It was a very, very revealing confession. And I'm not going to make too much of that psychologically because I think Nadal is the best fighter in the game, bar none. However, I agree with him when he said that because I don't think I've seen a more better balanced tennis player than Novak Djokovic. Backhand, forehand, everything. The guy, exactly. The guy is so well-rounded and so bulletproof. Now, there's a little bit of a moth flame thing for him going there, which Nadal does not have. Nadal just wants to win.
This is a very, very rich plot line to follow as we go to 2014. When Nadal and Djokovic play next, it will be their 40th head-to-head match, which is amazing.
Thanks, Tennis.com. When we come back, there's more Holding Court with Justin and Andre Agassi on World of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. Welcome back to World of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. Now back to Holding Court with Justin and Andre Agassi.
What's the best lesson you learned through the sport of tennis?
There is no finish line. Life, there is no finish line. You're number one in the world. You still have to get out there and prove it every day. You're number 140 in the world. Getting back to number one feels like you can't, there's no way you're going to conquer it. So what is it about then, really? It's about the measurement and the barometer of yourself. It's not about measuring yourself against others. It's about asking the most of yourself every day.
You mentioned a few of those things that you learned from tennis. Anything outside of that enabled you to transfer from being such an iconic tennis player to such a successful entrepreneur in the education field?
When I step into the world of education, I look at it as something I'm passionate about. I look at it as something that's broken, and I look at it as something that should be fixable. So where's my way to fix that? And I go through it methodically. I spend 12 to 15 years building a charter school, living the trials and tribulations of it, to realize what the single biggest problem is with our best charter school operators, to expand, and then focusing on that, and then building a team around me that can help me expand a whole new way of approaching it. So it's about applying all those lessons. It's a daily commitment.
We're here at the Built office. It's an endeavor that you're involved with Gil, who you have such a close relationship with. So the combination of fitness, which was paramount to your success, and your relationship with Gil, where is the company at, and how enjoyable is it to work with Gil? Oh,
first of all, it's been another excuse for us to spend a different chapter of our lives together. So that's number one. Number two, there's a component to it that you didn't mention was, we built this stuff a long time ago. So it's not like we're coming together saying, let's start a business, even though I think we could have, and even though what's in that man's mind and heart I think he could conquer the industry. But
secret weapon. Yeah. You wanted the weapons secret until you were retired, and then you could unleash them on the rest of the sporting community. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, just not the sporting community. Absolutely, there was a pride of authorship. There's no chance somebody was walking in that gym without signing an NDA or something, because Gil wouldn't have it, I wouldn't have it. Then I thought, well, we're not protecting this anymore from potential, competitors, so does this really work? I've seen a lot of people come and go through my gym, and they all say the same thing. This feels like it was made for me.
Going back to tennis, is there a proudest moment on the court?
The proudest moment actually didn't come on the court. My proudest moment came in the locker room. When I retired, I came in the locker room, and everybody that had just watched it, players and coaches alike, trainers and officials, started to just applaud. They gave me basically a standing ovation in the locker room. And the reason why that meant the most is because the applause of your peers is the most authentic, because they have seen you at your best and at your worst. They have seen you in battle. And if they can honestly say that they're going to miss you or they respect you, that is the greatest compliment you'll ever receive. So that was my proudest moment as a tennis player.
You're indelibly linked to Pete Sampras, start to finish. Is he your greatest rival?
Yeah, when you talk about just sheer rivalry, talk about sheer the best at what they do, coming together at the right time in their careers. And Pete was the only guy I ever felt like if I played my best, I wasn't assured anything, So was he my rival? No question about it. I would hope he felt the same way, in the sense that if he played his best, he might still feel like he should win, but I wanted to believe I had a say in that. So as a result, you have two people who are bringing out sometimes the best and sometimes the worst in each other. And then you got the other factors in the equation, which is we're just two entirely different kinds of people and two entirely different kinds of players. So just watching all those elements work together was something you're not guaranteed. Absolutely, he was the greatest rival. Was there one overlaying emotion, envy or pity, in the simplicity that he was able to live his life and endeavor in the sport? Yeah, I saw Pete as a guy that certainly was motivated by different factors than I was, and he made it look so easy, and he made it feel so easy. Even how he prepared for a match was just, it's almost as if it was natural for him and that he doesn't want to be anywhere else. So there were times, as you say, there were times I resented the hell out of that because I was fighting with myself, and there were times I envied it. And there were times that I felt the complete opposite. I sort of pitied it, if you will. But that was like a mirror to me. It had nothing to do with him. You know, he is who he is. You know, and he was as a player who he was. So I have full appreciation for that now. But as I go through it historically, it all depends on how much I was struggling with myself to how much I sort of embraced him or didn't. You know, and trust me, over 21 years. I had a lot of all those emotions. What's the update of where your foundation is right now? Foundation's thriving. School, 1,300 kids, grown from 600 over the last few years. You know, are operating incredibly efficiently. We're now being able to drive dollars straight into classrooms for specific targeted areas such as technology or other things. As a result, what we have is a school that can live in perpetuity, that doesn't need me anymore, which is a fantastic thing because I'm not an operator, I'm not an educator, but it's healthy and strong. Currently we have 27 schools out there all across this country, and it's my hope that this dream just grows. It's certainly catching on. Andre, thanks for everything you've done and continue to do. Thank you, Justin.
Time now for this week's Getty Images on Tour. Andre Agassi was a player with tremendous appeal and incredible shot-making ability. Agassi ended his career with 8 major titles. When he won the French Open in 1999, it put him in an elite group of men to win all 4 majors. He was also the first man to win a career Golden Slam. Andre spent 101 weeks at #1 and was the oldest player to ever hold that ranking. There's no denying Andre's impact and legacy in the game. Thanks, Getty Images. We'll be right back. World of Tennis is brought to you by BNP Paribas, the bank for a changing world. And by the BNP Paribas Showdown. See Djokovic, Murray, the Bryans, and the McEnroe brothers, March 3rd at Madison Square Garden. Welcome back to Worlds of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. Time for Justin's final take, brought to you by Tennis Express.
American tennis, especially men's tennis, is undeniably in a tough place. The stats are bleak. The highest-ranked male player ending 2013 was John Isner at number 14. Only Sam Querrey joined him in the top 50, and that was just barely at number 46. The number 3 ranked American male in 2013 was Tim Smyczek at number 89. Now, no disrespect to Tim. He had an amazing year, and he deserves a ton of credit for maxing out his potential and being one of the best 90 tennis players in the world. Unfortunately, the American public expects more. The reality is, it will probably be bleak for a while. The sport has grown in popularity around the world, and thus competition has increased dramatically. Here in America, we are losing more and more of our best athletes to soccer and exports, while tennis is enticing more of the best athletes internationally. I do believe all things are cyclical, but it's going to be hard, if not impossible, to dominate tennis on the world stage like we have in the past. There are some positives on the horizon. I expect John Isner to have an excellent 2014. I also believe Sam Querrey will have a resurgent 2014, get back into the top 20, and have some big results this year. Young talents like Jack Sock and Ryan Harrison should also take big steps forward in 2014. And we can always count on the Bryan twins to hoist Grand Slam hardware. 2014 will be kinder to American men than 2013, but unfortunately, not by too much.
Thanks, Tennis Express. Now here's a look at the upcoming tour schedule, brought to you by Wilson. For more of Justin's interview with Andre Agassi, you can go to StarGamesInc.com. The next episode of World of Tennis premieres Wednesday, February 26th at 6:30 p.m. See you next time on Worlds of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas.